What's going on, everybody? We're just getting started here. Sorry for my other camera in the way. Get it moved back. So, what's going on? We've got the VS4-10 Pro kit here. I'm going to do a live build on it. We're going to try and go all the way start to finish and hopefully end with a running truck. That is the ultimate goal for tonight. I've got Dan here actually as well, so he's gonna lend a hand. Thanks everyone for joining in. Appreciate it. I'm sure we'll get rolling here soon. Like I said, I think we're gonna try and go from start to finish on this thing all in one night. We're gonna start with the directions in order, not with you know. So that's the plan right now. Dan's grabbing. So we're cheating a little bit in the fact that the body is already painted and assembled. The Corey from Rusty Brushes painted our body. We're going to use that. So that stuff's been done. From there, everything is still in this kit new. This one's a sealed kit. Still has the factory seal on it. But we're going to take the body and stuff out, and we'll swap that out to the one that we already have done. So I've got Dan here to help with some of the stuff, like, you know, doing 3 of the 4 shocks and 3 of the 4 wheels and tires and all the fun stuff like that. So yeah, thanks everyone for joining in. Bunch of stuff. Also, since we're doing this one live, any of you guys who would like to or who would be interested, copy the video link, share it to your Facebook groups, your local group, whatever it is that anybody who may be interested. I did this in like an hour, decided an hour before the video to actually do the live build. So I didn't give everyone like a long heads up notice or anything like that. I shared it to like the VS4-10 group and the Vanquish fan page, my page, stuff like that. But that's about the extent of it. So we didn't have a ton of notice beyond that. But let's dive into it now. We'll get rolling. The fun part. So we're not going to go over all of the box. I'll let you guys kind of experience that as you like. So we've got, let's see, put some of this stuff aside. We've got our axle parts, aluminum front axle housing, knuckles, third member, chromoly axle shafts, rear axle housing, end caps, third member, so on. The interior tray. The interior tray is also the rear drop bed. So that's something that, the rear bed part is not part of the rest of the body. A little bit different than you may have been used to. Wheels, tires, speed locks in there. Inner fenders. I actually painted a pair of these earlier today, so we're going to, we don't have to do that either. Here's how the body looks. Comes pre-laser cut, all the holes already in there. Like you can see, the bed is all open there. We'll definitely try and get, I'll try and catch up with the comments as best I can here in a minute. Let's get through this. So you want to set...
Just YouTube?
Yeah. That stuff aside, we don't need it because we're using the other ones. So AB, let's see. Bag C is the skid plate and I think skid plate and chassis braces, things like that. Bag D is the transmission, so that'll be the fun one for all of you guys to get through. Let's see. E is the shocks, are mostly assembled. H is body detail parts. G is the detail parts like the sliders, bumpers, battery plates, sliders, whatnot. All of our hardware and link sets in this big bag, frame rails, and instruction book. So,
Still the nicest box on the planet.
It is a pretty nice box. So we're going to put all this aside except A and B to start. And then where's the big one with all the hardware? So. Yeah, I'll just have to put all that stuff back together so you can just remove all of it and we can pop it all. We'll use it all. So we need to grab A1 and B1, which is like the hardware shafts and gears for the front axle. Other stuff we can set aside. Little spare parts bag. We don't need that right now. Since we're not going to actually do the body in this one, this is the window mask set, or window, headlights, taillights, whatnot. Then there's two sticker sheets. One's got all of our, regular window masks, or not window masks, window trims, some detail stuff. The other one is the rear section of the body, which is the drop bed, the bed rails, some Vanquish stickers, interior detail pieces, all the fun stuff. And we've got the manual. So probably don't need the manual for the first parts, but just we'll be safe. We'll be safe, and I won't get cocky. So, all right. Let's double check the comments before we go too far. Will the Holmes motor work with the new VF? Yes. Clay Carter used the Holmes revolver, right? The only thing he had to do is that the Holmes revolver's got like a long output shaft for the pinion. I think he actually had to trim that down a little bit because it actually rubbed the spur gear cover, maybe.
Yes.
But it was just, it's just a long output shaft. If you don't want to run a spur gear cover, you're not going to have any worries at all. Yes, Dan is off camera, but he's right there. I caught him just before he fell asleep.
Yeah. Close.
So, all right. Put B1 and B2 aside for now. Got all the hardware to open. It is in a lot of bags. It's all kind of separated rather than just being in one. No fancy foam tray this time. That was just trying to get the overall cost down. That foam did stay out this time. So, it was super cool. I really liked it, but we're trying to be as it's an expensive kit, but we're trying to give you as much value for it as you can. Hello from Portugal. Nice. So Wisconsin, Portugal, Utah, Wisconsin. All right. We almost have it all open. And, Put some Loctite on a bag so we're not constantly searching for it. Okay, so let's jump in. Of course, I didn't open one of them. This one I need to start. So we're going to start the ring gear and spool assembly is the first thing. This again uses the 6-hole ring gear. It's going to be hard to see that, but 6 holes holding the ring gear to the spool. It's the 30-tooth ring gear, 8-tooth pinion. Comes to 3.75 to 1 ratio. Whoops. Flung a set pin right into my pile of Loctite. That one's not coming out later. Not going to do everything by hand on this one. I've been shooting the how-to videos the last couple of days and showing it all by hand rather than power driver, but that's not going to happen tonight because we're trying to get this thing running by the end of the day. Okay. Yeah, you can do 3 of the 4. Yeah, like that. Same with shocks. Yep. So Dan will start putting 3 of the 4 bead locks together. Hello, Australia, UK. I like awesome. I got 60 weight shock one. I've got 80 in the other one too, depending on which one.
Oh, you're 80.
I've got it above Brandon's desk. There's a whole set of low C shock one. Okay. So for electronics today, I'm going to rob all the electronics that I just installed into another build because I don't have all the things that I need for yet another one. But we're going to be using a 31 or 3300 kV motor. It's a Holmes Polar Pro. And then I've got a new Mamba X. I'll be using my Futaba 4PV with a Futaba 2106GF receiver, which is their inexpensive lay-down 6-channel receiver. So. Ring gear part's done. Seven by 14 by 3.5 bearings, standard. And then the one-piece bearing retainers. If you're not familiar with the Vanquish style axles, they usually use these bearing retainers. So they go over each side of the bearing on the spool assembly itself. So there isn't like 2 halves of something that crush down on a bearing. It's kind of nice. It keeps bearings a little bit more, a little happier. Standard 8-tooth pinion. The inner pinion bearing is that big 5 by 14 by 5 millimeter bearing, which is nice and strong. I believe my parents are watching me. I believe that. I think my So once you put the pinion in the third member, bearings installed, then you drop in the ring and pinion gear. If you've never used a F9 style housing or a fabricated style like this, this is a dropout third member design. So you actually have the ring and pinion gear as an assembly all together. And then that whole assembly drops into the axle housing. A little different than you may be used to depending on the last type of axle you built, or if you've ever built an aftermarket style axle from us. Uses 4 and 3 by 12 button head screws to hold the bearing retainers to the third member. So got them all lightly started, then we'll just tighten them down in a cross pattern. Manitoba, Canada, nice. Florida, Cincinnati, Philippines. We're all over the place. Appreciate everyone from watching. So this is what I'm talking about. Now that we've got the pinion assembly, the ring gear, and spool in there, you can just spin it. It's all one complete, ready-to-run unit right here. This is similar to like a Ford 9-inch full-size axle or a Toyota axle, if that's what you're more used to, in case you're one of those weird Toyota people. So we're going to grease the gear set now because this is the last time we'll have access to it. I'm using the Vanquish gear grease. Use anything. Any bearing grease is fine. This is what I have. It works well. It stays on the gears. But you use whatever you like best. So, light coat. Let's see. Oh, okay. Yeah, I heard Josh was going to give the specific build away to one of his dear fans for watching the entire build. Ooh, that's a, you can't trust.
How you doing, dear fan here?
Yeah, you can't trust everything you read on the internet. Abraham Lincoln said that. What owns the 1.5? Yeah. Or you want my power battery?
Yeah, just in case.
And the 1.5 tips in here. So with the axle, the third member all assembled, ready to go, take your axle housing and you just drop it in. Just fits in there nice, drops in, very satisfying. Now we use some M3x8 socket head screws to hold it into the housing. Use Loctite on all 4 of the screws that hold the one-piece bearing retainers, and use Loctite on these 4 M3x8s as well. I feel like I just did this, like last night.
Light up.
These are the new Vanquish offset F9 axles. Well, the front is offset. The rear is basically the same as what was available before that you could buy as like an upgrade. It's been changed slightly so that we changed the link mount spacing so that it's a 280 spacing rather than a 300 spacing, 280 thousandths wide rather than 300 thousandths, which is more the wider axial style. So the links fit in there. There's no play. But let's see this one here. Sorry, contrast is a little blown out. Maybe I can turn off, turn down. No, not gonna help. So it's got the Curry logo milled in the front, offset style. Are these axles going to be? Are these axles going to be available to purchase separately? Eventually, yes. Just like the D44s that we released that came on the last Origin, they will be available separately down the road. Not right away. We got to stay caught up on kits and all that fun stuff, but they will be available separately before too long. So let's get our knuckles. Kit comes with aluminum knuckles as well. So if you've ever had trouble getting bearings into an 8-degree knuckle or a knuckle with 8-degree kingpin inclination, sometimes it helps to put it onto the axle shaft first, and the outside bearing will help you line it up and slide it in easily. If you've done a lot of them, though, usually it's pretty easy. So another thing with these axles is that the axles have a built-in C-hub for style, and the other thing about that is that sometimes if you have that style, we were concerned that you put a screw into it and you tighten it too far and strip the threads out, and then you ruin a whole axle. But these axles actually have this little tiny threaded piece that keys into the axle housing. So this slides in from the inside of your C-hub, get it lined up, push it in, and then see if you can see it. So, and then that becomes your threads. They're replaceable if you were ever able to strip them. You shouldn't be able to strip them, but if you ever were able to, they're replaceable, so you don't have to worry about messing up a housing. So you get the benefits of the style of a one-piece housing, but you still have really good strength. So, oops. We're using, comes with the chromoly universal joint style axles. There's a long and a short because it's an offset front housing. So slides over, and now we need to install our kingpin screws. A little bit of Loctite. This one turned on the others. Straighten that. Let's see. So that on there. Spins nice and smooth. Great. Fantastic. Go our other side. Sorry for the machine noise in the other room. It's making parts for this kit. What is the caster set on these axles? God, I think it's 10. It's 10 or a little over. I don't recall that directly offhand. I should, but pretty sure it's about 10 degrees. Oh, I almost forgot the threaded inserts. How much for this kit in Canadian? Oh, I have no idea in Canadian. You will have to look at the site and then use your own.
Ask Matthew.
Yeah. Use your own converter. So, threaded inserts in on the passenger side. scale board. Matt Cat, of course, comes in. He's already bored. I don't know how he could be bored. He's from Canada. It's the most boring place in the world. You're welcome. I do believe I have a small bottle of syrup in the refrigerator over here, though, just in case you feel you need something to lust over. Let me grab it. It's in the door of the refrigerator.
Yeah, this is good stuff. Oh, it's Wisconsin.
It's from Matt Healy. It's Wisconsin syrup. So there, now the Canadians have some. It is actually syrup too.
That's a good bottle. That's no cheapie.
So
I remember a pancake from it.
we're gonna put our 2x10 millimeter pin. Yeah. I got a care package today from a friend who sent me some very nice cheese and syrup and snacks, but it's all in the office here still, and it's an odd sight. Seriously, Neil, you gotta go away. Sorry, a phone call in the middle of it. So we got our 12 millimeter hexes on, standard aluminum hex. Retaining it with our M3x3 set screw. And these are the same knuckles that use the scale style high steer arms. So these bolt to the top of the knuckle. They're keyed into the knuckle as well. Dan, will you mute whoever is blowing you up on Messenger? So I don't like doing using the black anodized versions just because they're harder to see, and the clear anodized aluminum just is so much better on video. So they're judging that it's Wisconsin maple syrup instead of Canadian.
It's all right, then.
But everything in the U.S. is better, so I don't understand.
It's probably real.
Their bacon is just ham.
So
I mean, ours is pork still, but
same thing.
it's still bad. Weak.
They have to put their name in front of it to make it sound better.
Right. The knuckles use 164 by quarter screws to be held on. Don't use any Loctite on these. 164 screws are just a nice detail screw, and if you use, especially if you use too much Loctite, then it's easy to spin the head in them, and then you got a bigger problem. But oh, Mr. Comedy is in here. The scale motor.
Mr. Detail himself.
Yeah, exactly. So knuckles are done, ready to go. We've got the drive shaft. So in the package there are, trying to separate them, 2 tiny shims. They're optional. If you want to use them, though, you put them over the pinion shaft from the outside here, and then you slide on your drive shaft. with a hypoid gear, just based on the design of them, they inherently want to either pull themselves out or push themselves in, and they can feel notchy. So if you shim it, it kind of holds everything a little bit tighter, keeps them in place where they want to be. So you can spin those gears super smooth. So front axle's done. That's B1 and or A1 and A2. Now we get to open B1 and B2. I'll show you guys the other little differences to the rear axle here, because there is a couple of other little differences that have been made. I'm going to throw my phone across the room. Or just put it on airplane mode. Done. I told my wife if she wants to talk to me before this, that she can hit the chat on YouTube. She was not entertained.
She doesn't make fun of you, though, so it does.
Oh, she makes fun of me all the time. She is just not interested in watching me build an RC car. Right. So this is one of the big differences here. If you've never, or if you have owned one of the F9 axles before, the third member now, it's got a ramped design that goes all the way from the very bottom to the nose. Before it had a little bit of a more abrupt face to it. So this one now just a little straighter, gives you a little bit better like approach to the rear axle. I don't know, it's a weird way to put that. You don't really look at it all the time, but just a nice little modification that was made. Now, got another ring gear and spool to do. Same gear ratio. Oh. Mr. Comedy says his wife watches and build, so
Wow.
he has something over me.
Lucky. Better than most.
My wife doesn't care that I build, but she's not interested in watching. Oh, yes. Thanks, Jim. Jim's watching. That was the other thing on the front axle. The knuckles are actually a modified version of what we see before. These actually a little bit over 50 degrees of steering now, both sides. So a lot of steering, and they're still smooth with those universal joints. So you do get another little change there to these. These may look familiar, but just little modifications have been done to make them work better. The C-hubs on the front axle of the D44 and the new F9 are beefed up compared to anything else, just to make sure that there's just nothing that is going to happen to them ever. And with that, we needed to add just a little. Oh, using the wrong driver. Picked up my standard driver. Eating dinner and watching this beautiful kit being put together. Oh, yeah. 11. I decided to do the live build on just short notice, and so the other thing that I had forgot to do is I forgot to bring my laptop charger to work today. So I left here, ran home, grabbed my laptop charger, kind of, ran out the door, driving back, realized that I went home and grabbed my laptop charger, put it on top of the couch, and then drove away without grabbing it. Turned back around, went back and got it. I didn't make it far, at least, but it's like I did not go home all the way to grab a water. Come back, but yeah, grabbed something quick to eat on my way. Drop the pinion in. What else we got in here? My wife's more purses my wife gets to buy. More chance I will get the kit.
Actually, super nice driver.
The DeWalt?
Yes.
Is that the first time you used it?
Yes, it's amazing.
So yes, Dan is using my power driver right now. It's a, you can put it into the pistol grip style.
Yeah, no, this is super
You like
comfortable.
a screwdriver style. So I'll start using it when we get to the chassis, but it's actually really nice to use. The DeWalt 8-volt Gyro Max.
It's cool.
It seems trippy at first, but then it just feels real natural after a minute.
Yep. Took me a minute to get used to it. Very controllable.
Yeah, you just
Low speed.
the more you twist it just like a regular driver, lefty loosey righty tighty, and the further you twist it, the faster it goes, and you can kind of modulate it just going back and forth. It's kind of cool. Up there. So drop the third member into the axle. Make sure you note the top side of the housing. It's got little indents where the clearance for the rod end is, and also the threaded oil plug on the top side. Scale oil fill plug. So getting close to the rear axle. This stuff is all fun and all, but maybe we should just do the transmission at the very end and just drop. Just make everybody wait. It drops in so nice after everything.
You're gonna have everybody shut off.
Yeah, I
Shut
know.
off and wait till the end now.
Let's just start it and then go on to something else. Come back.
Take it out of the bag and I'll see.
Grease aside. Get the little M3x4 button head screws to hold the caps on. A little bit of luck there. Where is it at? Oh, I am way off. Sure, I installed the bearings. Trying to hurry, well, not hurry, but trying not draw this out. Get it done as fast as we can. I'm going to do it in order. You'll see the transmission soon.
Already?
People.
Is that Matt playing already?
That's just how I read all of his messages. All of Matt's messages come around in that way. Matt versus Josh in a wrestling match.
Well, that's not going to be very entertaining.
Matt's bad back.
Got a chance to see seniors fight at the senior center.
Come on, you stupid little set screws. Fingers are too fat for 3mm long set screws. I've got $100 on. Mud pit wrestling, nothing sounds less fun to me. I hate mud, remember? DDT, the SBG.
Find a mud puddle at the mall?
No, I took the Jeep. Nicole and I went up to, what was that, near Spalding Lake, and we ran a little trail back there and got the Jeep all dirty. And I'm just leaving it dirty at this time just because it makes Steve and Jim cringe. Dan has been doing beadlocks, yes. So he's got almost 3 done. So, rear axle, yay. So, oh, we need to do the little oil fill plug. So, the little, I got it. So, there's a little scale oil fill plug that goes on the backside of the axle. Just put some Loctite on it and then thread it in by hand. You don't need to use a tool to grab it. Just get it, put it in there, let the Loctite help it set up, and it'll stay in place that way. You don't ever need to remove it. It's just for looks. It's just a scale style thing. Ooh, look at that. Fancy. So, axles are done. Now onto the chassis. Good news, Dan. I need the driver. All right. I didn't look at the instructions yet. Pretty sure that was C. Yep, it is. Okay.
Looks like you dropped that one.
So. DC channel. Bag C is all of our chassis plastics. Whoa. Notifications popping up and losing stuff. So I need 2mm driver most. When is Vanquish Fest going to be? Oof. I do not envy the guys who have to put on those events. But putting on events like that is so much work. I mean, seriously, I do not know that we have number of people to do it. Unless just like 9 of you guys want to come crawl with me and Dan.
Yeah, I'm down it. We can call it Vanquish Fest.
We can call it Vanquish Fest. So it'll be 9 guys up in the mountains. So this is that little driver, 8-volt DeWalt. It converts into a screwdriver style if you want, but I like the other style better. It's got a really nice clutch on it, super adjustable. So, find 8 millimeters. Sneak peek of the next budget build. How to piss off the internet.
You got the start of your next budget build.
We could just, it could just be this kit, but we just build it over
Anything you want.
You know, how many weeks that is, that math.
One screw a week.
Dan, will you grab me the battery off the top of my cart over there for this? And then will you make sure that the charger's plugged in? Because I don't think it is. So 6. Whoa.
Yeah,
It's got some horsepower now, right?
I like the one right.
That.
Yeah, no beadlock. Screw's gonna fall at this time.
Right.
Well, there's shit up on my head.
So I'll give you guys a close up of the skid plate here. So the skid plate, you can see it extends all the way forward up to here. Basically, it is level with the bottom of the links at full stuff. So it goes up and it protects the motor the whole way. The transmission bolts in from the top. So the screws are here in the top, basically access almost everything from up there. There's one screw that goes in the front of the motor, or in front of the skid plate to go into the motor plate. Keeps everything held in place really nice. But goes together really well. Okay. Couple of 8 millimeters in the front. So this transmission does have built-in underdrive, overdrive out of the box as well. So does that, but keeps the motor super far forward and as low as possible. Tell Dan to do something again. It's awesome. Johnny Stevens. So putting these are also new slider base. For those of you guys who have seen or looked at the chassis kit, these will be familiar. So nice molded slider base, keeps the ridges, out of the way. There isn't any steep ridges or anything like that to catch on, which is a nice little feature. The rear cross brace also has a molded in fuel cell. So set there. There's a little notch in the front here, you can see. And then in the package, there's this little plug that just drops right in there. And then the fuel cell lid also has a notch. And you just line up those. In case you do want to run anything into that, you can just omit the plug. But I don't have any plans to run anything in it on this one, so. Oops. Is Matt going to get the kit anytime soon, or does he already have one? Matt already has one. So Matt actually tested the transmission as well. So he's had a transmission since December, I think. Clay Carter had one to test. Dan tested one. I had one. Brandon had one. Fam had one. Can't remember who else. But Brad Perry put like 200 and some odd miles on his. Chino Dean had one. So
he got some torture.
Yeah. But yeah, Matt has got his full kit now already ready to build, and we also sent one to Greg Vogel from RC Driver, so he's building one up now. So now we need to. Did you get that servo out of there? So let's.
Is this the motor you're putting in it?
Yeah.
This transmission, you set it in there, don't build it for the show.
Rude. So we're almost done with the chassis, which is good news for those who are waiting for the transmission. Can VFD be mounted in other manufacturers' transmission or not really. It's really specific, and it's not really. There isn't any plans to do that. It's made for this chassis kind of for a reason. You need an offset axle to run the transmission in the first place. So to run an offset axle with the pumpkin over there, you typically need a high clearance chassis rail. So unless you have a chassis that is very similar to this. But if other manufacturers make chassis to accept it, that's a different thing. The transmission will be available separately down the road. So that's, that would be the difference there. So for body posts, We need the shorties and the middle ones. Rear body posts go all the way down, held in place with a set pin. I need the 2.0 back. Do I have another 2.0? I think I do. Stubby. Right. Front ones get mounted with 3.5 holes exposed above the top. How many VS4-10s have I built and how many do you own? Brr. I don't know the answer to that.
I only own 2. 2.5.
Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of also like a weird, like, we've got the trucks we used for the videos, and in reality, those are just like shop trucks that, you know, are just here, and I've got my electronics in, but I don't know. Oh. I've got as many VS4-10s as I need. No, I don't. Never as many as I need. Or always as many as I need, never as many as I want.
It's got more than he can drive.
Yeah. There's no good answer for that. So. For the servo, I am installing the, I threw that one, but there's extras in there, so I'm not going to look for it. For the servo, I'm using a Futaba S9177 SV servo. Like 500 some odd ounces of torque, waterproof. And I'm using the Vanquish 25 tooth, 20 millimeter long servo horn. That's part number VPS 02412. 2412. So there is extra washer head screws. These are what we use to hold in servos. There's 4 extras because there is a spot for a servo winch mount, but we're not installing that today. One of those. The very first thing I installed was the aluminum panhard mount. This is a clear kit, you know, comes with the clear axles, but the panhard mounts are black on all of them. So that's the reason that you'll see that one kind of blending in. But at this point now, we're ready to open bag D, which is the transmission. So if you're ready for this part, hit the like button on the video so I get more points, get more of the things. That'll help. Let's see. All right, let's clear some space. Put the chassis aside for now. Transmission bag. It's time. One thing to note is that there is a slight typo in the manual at this point. The manual says open bag D1 and D2. There's actually only one bag, so don't look for D2. There's just bag D1. A little bit of a typo, but it's okay.
Empty bag and another 2 on it.
Yeah, just put an empty bag with just like a little note. It says enjoy your kit.
We'll put a Vanquish sticker in there with a
So
2 on it.
you just all the parts. we'll go through this step slower, show you guys all the good parts. There's all the machine gears come in the kit. I want to design an engine for it. Dion, shoot me a private message, and
Yeah, please.
I'll see if I can help you out with some stuff there. Some hard points or some things like that that may help you. Is it agonizing waiting at this point, or is it exciting? Or is it agonizing to listen to me talk in general?
Oh, I can't do that one. Duh. Just for you, Matt. Yes, it is.
So I'm going to pull all the bearings aside. One thing to note, the transmission, both. Ah, nice. I don't know if that means I said 3 things, though. So all of the bearings in the transmission are 5x11x4. So all the same size, all some extra hardware. If you can put that to the side. Okay. Let's see. Mix of the two. Just get the standoffs the correct way. I'll show you what that looks like, Eric. That was mainly just my picture. Am I going to complete it all tonight? Yes. Yes, we are. We're going to drive it on this table by the end of the night. As long as Dan doesn't fall asleep. Dan is the worst co-pilot ever on a road trip. He will barely make it outside of the suburbs and is snoring in your ear.
Hey, it keeps you awake. You're not gonna fall asleep with me snoring.
The first part we're using is the motor plate. This is, my mom at least says it's nice to listen to me talk. There's one in that column.
She has to say nice things.
The rest of the column's stacked, but we got one. So this is the motor plate. I'm trying to show you. Oh, there's a spacer in there. Don't lose the spacer. You need that. So it's a 6mm thick aluminum motor plate. It's our first part there. Then we've got these 2 aluminum posts with the Vanquish logo on them. And yes, the picture I posted today does look like it's etched upside down. It's actually just, you're supposed to rotate them upwards because they're both etched the same. So there isn't a left and a right. One of them technically could be flipped, and then it would be, you could put it to the outside, and it's not. You can be mad about it and comment on it on the internet if you'd like. So we're going to start with those posts. You want to put that Vanquish text, the side that the Vanquish text, you want to put that away from the motor plate. So the M3x12 screw is a cap head, and it goes through the front side of the motor plate and it kind of countersinks in. So tighten it up. Sometimes it's easiest to tighten these if you put another screw in. I have my other. So that, whoops. I bought 3100 kV Rock 412. So far in mine, I've got the one I built yesterday. I put in a Holmes 2300 kV Puller Pro for 4S. I've been running mostly 4S lately, and I did put Loctite on the first one, and then I didn't put Loctite on this one, so I'm gonna do that before I. Should go the right way. So I put 2300 Puller Pro on the one yesterday. My test rig, I've been running a Tekin, what's that? Pro 4 3000 or 3300 kV. Tekin Pro 4 3300 kV on 4S most of the time, even though it's not a 4S motor, so you're not supposed to do that, but I did anyway. And then this one we're going to use a Holmes Puller Pro 3100, 3300. I don't remember which one it is yet. I had two Puller Pros here, and I'm using them both in the last 2 days. So anyway, so we've got our aluminum standoffs on the motor plate there. So now we're going to take the top shaft, which is this long steel top shaft. Put a 5x11x4 bearing on the very end of it with the threads. Yeah. So, and then we put it into the bearing pocket on the back side of the motor plate. So that there, and then that little tiny spacer that we saw in the motor plate earlier. It's like a 2 or 3 millimeter aluminum spacer that goes over the top shaft. Then we use an M2x10 pin. Goes through there. Then we slide on the aluminum slipper eliminator setup. And let's see, we need our M4 wheel nut, lock nut, whatever. So I found it easiest to put a pick through the back end and just tighten this up now. You put the spur gear on if you wanted to tighten it, just hold on to it, but I just find this easy. So now we've got that long top shaft that spans the length there. The slipper eliminator on the front. Then we need our spur gear, which is in. That'll set up. Let's see. Ooh, fancy. Nobody's ever seen a spur gear like this. It's the best spur gear that's ever been made. It's a standard 56 tooth spur gear. Trying to just line it up. There we go. So this one comes with a 56 tooth spur gear. The previous Origin came with a 54 tooth spur gear. And we will be using a 15 tooth pinion this time. So 3 button head screws hold the spur gear on. Lightly put those on. Yeah. Oh wait. No, that one isn't. Is it? No. God, what did I do with that other Holmes motor then? Wait, what truck did you just take apart?
The track is
That.
the Dodge.
Yeah. I just swore. Huh. Oh, right. will you go see if the orange dig transmission I put together is in there? It's bolted to that transmission. I put the VFD in the Power Wagon, and I forgot I had just a blank motor in it. So, oh, catching up. So, here, anybody want to buy it? Original kit. Is there room to change the spur gear sizes? Yes, there's lots of room for adjustability. You know, the motor screws are slotted. You can see there. You can change the spur gear. There's a gearing chart in the manual. Shows you kind of the sizes and combinations you can use. So there's a bunch of ones that you can use there. So there's that part. So at this point, it shows installing the motor. You don't actually have to install it at this point. We're going to install it just at the end. There it is.
You might want to drop down to one of our other pins.
So why is that?
35.
That's a 3,500 kV. It'll be fine. So it'll be fine. Anyway, like I said, the manual shows installing the motor at this point, but you don't need to do that. You can put the motor in and out with the transmission fully assembled. It's not that big a deal. So what we have now, though, is we've got the this first housing here. Kind of looks like a housing. You can see the big holes there on the side. Those slide over those aluminum posts we were just looking at. So you can see those just slides over there. And it holds right onto, or it goes right against that motor plate. Now we've got, take my 1.5. Yeah. So which one do you need? Oh. So we've got some M2x8 hardware here that attaches it. I think if you wanted to get fancy, you could use scale hardware here and make it look all scale transmission-like. These shrouds are mainly decorative. They do help, you know, kind of hold the two housings together at the same time, but really, it probably wouldn't even have to run. I never tried without, but, and I don't suggest anybody does. They're mainly style. Let's see. Oh, my wife did join. Hello, wife. So we've got that. That's the first of the two housing portions. Now we've got the next section. That again slides over the two posts. And now it kind of creates this, you know, transmission, bell housing, transmission housing look. If you're comparing it to a full size. This second housing portion attaches to the first portion with 5 more M2x8 screws. Is there going to be aluminum options to replace the plastic pieces on the VFD? I'm assuming you mean like these shrouds, which I don't know. It would be purely decorative. I don't know. Right now those aren't going to be available at release by any means. So where like we've got the rear dig housing that replaces the backside of the transfer case, and that's aluminum, of course. So we've got one more this, and then we get into the meat of this thing. Should have used my power driver for this part, but I didn't. So anyway, now we've got those two parts attached to each other and attached to the motor plate. So next we need this portion of the transmission. So this is the front portion of the gearbox. So as you can see, it's made for 2 gears. That top hole is a through, and that's what accepts the actual top shaft. I'm going to adjust for this part just so you guys can see a little better. Try and keep it so I can still see it too. So that hole slides through, and kind of try and show you as much as I can of this. The transmission, or this bell housing, kind of has these notched out style, and then this portion also has these little bosses which the aluminum posts sit right into. So all of the pieces just key together, and it all just kind of falls in once you get it all lined up. So once you're there, everything just lines up. Now we need to get our M2x12s, a little more Loctite. There we go. So now those two screws lock it all together, this piece into there. So now that's the, the Vanquish logos read together. It's just I rotated that one down, so then it looked upside down, but if you're looking from the top, it's right side up. So that's why it looked one way versus the other. So now we need to slide a bearing over that top shaft. And it goes into that housing. The nice thing about this top shaft is that we've got a bearing out here in the motor plate, and then we've got one here in the front side of this transmission, then one on the back side of the rear gear. So that top shaft is supported so far from each other that there's no play. It's supported completely in such far distances that there's just no leverage between it, and just really holds itself nicely. So that bearing pressed in there. Now we need to find, so this top gear I think is a 23 tooth. Yes, 23 tooth. So it's one of the smaller gears. So it uses a M2x8 pin. Most of the rest of the pins are M2x10, so it's a little bit shorter. But get into another one of the details quick. Set that there. So all these gears in this transmission. So there's all of these gears. Now this gear has got the pins kind of made into one piece. It doesn't ride on shaft, so that one is different than the rest. But you can tell here the rest of these gears, like these here, specifically these 3 on the outside, are super wide. They're considerably wider than a standard transmission gear you may be used to. And these 3 then, these ones that are wider than the rest, these are for the transfer case. So we're going to set those aside. There is the top gear that we're using in this part of the transmission is a 23 tooth. One of the gears in the transfer case is also a 23 tooth, but it's wider. So if you tried to grab the wider version, the cases wouldn't close together. So you have to be careful there. I mean, you would immediately know there was a problem, but it's just worth noting at this point before you get into it. So we've got that M2x8 pin in place. We're going to slide that 23 tooth gear over it. Got that. And then we can put our last bearing on there. Then we need to find the large gear for the front side of the transmission. Bottom side, I don't know, front side, bottom side, whatever side. And we need to find the shaft. We need to find the longest shaft, which is, it's got a length. Oh wait, not the longest, I'm wrong. Second longest, 37.5 millimeters long. That one, we need to take one of the M2x10 pins, and it goes in the hole that's closest to the edge. So I have this shaft here, the pin in it. We're going to slide the gear over the pin side from the long side in. That. Now this, with the bearing, will drop into our case. So we've got that portion. Now, technically, we could grease this thing after we put these two halves together through that like top inspection cover, but that wouldn't be as convenient, so we're not going to do that. I'll show you what I mean by that in a minute. Okay. Light coat of grease on all of those. Now just note that there's not another bearing that goes on this shaft yet. We need to take the other half of this front part of the transmission, put it over top. Just kind of snaps together there. So now, two more 3x12s. Get the power there. I do. So, what am I using for grease? It's the Vanquish grease, just Vanquish rock grease. We sell it, you can buy it. It greases things. So this is what I'm talking about with that. The fact that you could technically grease the gears with them in there. Like, you know, the case halves are assembled now, but you still kind of have this inspection cover on the top, and there's a little plastic cover with a little V on it. You can drop that on top, and then now you can assemble them. It's the shocks.
Yeah.
I don't think we can confirm. I don't think anybody on the video is interested in watching us build shocks live. So let's just skip it. KC and Dobie say hello. Hope you're having fun. Ooh, my wife. Oh, she's at a friend's house in Kansas City.
Oh, she's not even here?
No.
Well, no wonder she's watching.
Right.
She doesn't have to see you all week.
Can I create templates to fabricate metal bumpers for both VS4-10 kits? Yeah, that wouldn't be too hard. Actually, we've got something else I'm trying to even do for that. Trying to get some like fabricators tab kits made. Brandon and I actually have that already kind of ready to go, so that you could buy some laser cut pieces and then fabricate the rest yourself. Preferred shock fluid. I've been using 60 mainly lately, but Dan has been using 80 weight. So we're building these with 80, and he actually really likes them. I get it. I've been liking the 60 myself, but we're going to try 80 in this one because why not? How many of these have I put together already? Ooh, that is a good question. So,
Just people.
yeah. So now you can see that little inspection cover on there. All closed up. So now that's the whole front part of the transmission. Now we have the transfer case section to go. The transfer case is where we achieve the overdrive. That's the big portion, the big part of that. Oh, I've got one more screw. I better not forget it. Someone will yell at me. So there's a flathead M3x12 that goes in the bottom here, right below that main gear. You can see. So. Okay, there we go. So this is the next interesting part. I'm going to say that too many times, I'm sure. So we've got these plates here. So these are an aluminum plate, and they're laser etched with, it says 30TOD, which means that this uses the 30-tooth setup, and it has an overdrive ratio. What these are how we've designed this to adjust the gear ratio and have a strong transmission without having to use an aluminum case from the factory. So since these are aluminum now, they're going to support the bearings, keep them in place, and not separate under high loads. So you can actually take the whole bearing plate and drop it into the housing. It just kind of snaps in there. So now if we want to adjust the gear ratio, when you adjust gear ratios, gears have to move around. Gears get bigger or smaller, and the distance between them changes. So you actually have to move gears around. But you need to keep the front output the same and the rear output the same. So it's hard to do that with a molded design. So we've got that aluminum plate in there that we can actually adjust that, and it just snaps in. And gives you the strength of, aluminum holding your gears together. So now I'm going to slide our bearings in. So now you can see all of our bearings in place. All right. So next part, we need to grab one of our pins. Come on. So the top one is going to be that 23 tooth that we had. It's going to use another M2x8 pin. There, grab that gear, slide it over. So that's going to be our drive gear. Then got a couple of things left here. Stay. So we've got two shafts left, a short one and a long one. Short one is the front output, long one is the rear output. That rear is an extended shaft because it's actually taking up additional space, so that if you decide to add a dig later, which adds length to the rear of the transmission, it kind of takes up that space so that you don't actually have to change drive shafts on the kit. The drive shafts that it comes with will work perfectly with a dig already. So you don't have to buy anything extra if you decide that you want to add a dig. So we're going to work on the rear output first, grabbing that longer shaft and one of the M2x10 pins, and then we need the 32 tooth output gear. The front output gear is a 30 tooth, so these two gears look very similar in size, but if you look close, one is slightly smaller than the other. So we're going to use the larger one for the front or for the rear output. So that one just drops in. Actually, we're going to wait to drop that in until I get the front one assembled too, because it sits kind of nicely by itself until you add all those gears in. So now we've got our front output with the stubby output shaft. The output shaft goes through the front because that's what the drive shaft hooks up to. We've got our idler gear with the shaft built in. And then we've got our rear output with the bearing. And it drops in. So now you can see our whole gear train there. So a couple things left about this whole setup to kind of show you. Of course, we have another bearing plate that we need to install with more bearings, but there's more to that still. Kind of hard to do it, show you guys all at the same time. Don't fall apart. So we've got the other bearing plate, and in the bag there is this small threaded post that I surely haven't lost already. There it is. Got it. So there's this very tiny threaded post. One side has threads on it, one side just kind of has a step to it. So the side with the threads on it threads into the back side of this bearing plate. So it just kind of sits like that. And that's just to help keep the bearing plates apart from each other so they don't move around and want to rub on things. It's a simple little thing, just kind of helps keep them separated. So I'm going to take and install the rest of the bearings. On the back side, take our bearing plate, slide it over the rear output shaft. There's a hole in the front bearing plate. The front and the rear bearing plates are actually the exact same. They're both threaded, but the shoulder is the size of, you know, the ID of the thread, so it all just kind of sits together. But so that's what I was talking about, that extra output length to accommodate for a dig if you'd like. All right, now I'm going to back this away so I can see it a little bit better and read the comments. What is the overdrive percentage out of the front? Out of the box, it comes with like 7% or 6.5% out of the box. So it's just a mild amount, helps in steering and climbing a little bit, but isn't drastic for, you know, most consumers. You know, you don't want something super drastic. Let's see. And then, of course, there'll be optional overdrive gear sets with much higher numbers available before too long. So, the gears should be, they're super wide. You know, I wonder if I have a... I thought I had a gear set in here, maybe. I don't have like a standard incision gear set for a 3-gear trans, but they're probably 50% wider than a standard 3-gear gear set. So it's pretty substantial. Can you do it with no overdrive? Yeah, so there'd be an option for no overdrive at all if you wanted. That one will be available later as well. So now we've got that part of the gear train. We've got the back half of the transfer case. Got kind of an Atlas style with the top output and some of the features there. This just slides over everything. It aligns so that the gear plate pops in. It all just goes together. So we need to add our hardware for this. 12s. Grease. Good call, Brad. Woo! Brad helped.
Did you really just put that together with no grease?
I did. I put it together with no grease.
This is what happens.
This
when you
is what
build for
happens
videos.
live. Don't do live builds.
This is what happens when you build too much for videos.
Woo! That was a test. Knew it the whole time. See, I'm
Not
glad.
used to building cars when he actually has to drive.
I planned on it the whole time. So our gear plate is in there right now. That's the other thing. So if the bearing plate, they're snug into the cases like they should be. You can just unthread that standoff, or you can use the standoff to pull. But if you need to, you can unthread that standoff and then just thread a screw into that bearing plate, and it'll just push it out. It works perfect. So you can do that on the front or the rear. It's easy to do. And for the record, I don't think I'd even started to use the power driver yet. Try those in.
It's your YouTube channel. You can tell it how you want.
So there's two M3x12s that hold that on, and then one long M3x30 goes all the way through the top side into the front case. So still spins nice and smooth. You've got one bearing left that goes in the very end of the tail housing of this thing. So now we just need to install the drive shafts right in front of me. The drive shafts, both female sides are in this part, so their length is the same. A little bit of Loctite just on the thread portion of the set pins. So now we've got our trans with the drive shafts. You can see that offset style. Now, at this point, we've got the motor's not in there, but we can install that now. So this is our Holmes 3500 kV. I'm going to clip this zip tie. So Polar Pro 540. Sensor wires in there already, just to note. And then you can just trying to hold it so that you can see. But just slide the input shaft in. Plenty of room for your sensor wire back there, whole deal. Just drops in. Grab the M3x12s. Depending on the motor you're using, you might have to use shorter screws or longer screws, probably not longer, but I know Castle motors can be a little close, so you may have to use it like a 10 mil, but it comes with 12 mils for that, so just be aware. Make sure that when you put it on there, you don't over tighten, bury into something. So, it comes with these aluminum motor. They're like a countersunk washer style. Got the motor screws in, not tightened. When you do it, make sure that you pay attention to where you put the solder posts. Ideally, you should solder your motor on before you install it. But you don't have to. I only say that because I've done it both ways. So we're going to install our 15-tooth pinion. A little bit of Loctite. So nice and tight there. Now we need to set our gear mesh. I'm just going to do it by feel. A little loose. Tighten that up a little. Okay. Is Brandon there to paint the body tonight? No, but we took care of it ahead of time. So, good to go. So, let's see. Can a Castle 14-15 fit? That's a really long motor. Now, this is 540 size motors are what I would recommend. Some 550 brush stuff might fit, but stay with a 540. Just get a good 540. You'll have. I was using a Polar or a Pro 4 on it. I mean, it just depends on how much you're looking for, but 540 can motors are what you should be looking at. So we've got our motor in, the whole deal. This is the spur gear cover. It's covered in like the first portion, but I usually wait till the last step. So it just drops on, kind of goes over. The motor plate has got these mounts built in on the side. You can see those wings there. Spur gear cover goes over that, kind of goes between there and that wing. And now we grab the chassis. So this part, super easy. Just kind of actually all just drops in. So there, it lines itself up pretty easily. It just falls together. So we grab our M3x12s, and these go on the transfer case side, I think. Yep. So there's 3 screws around the transfer case, all from the top. So, oops. Grab. Wrong side. So grab the long one. The long ones go up front. There's 2 mounts that are actually built into the front chassis cross brace, and that's what those bolt through. So now we got all that. grabbing. That part. Let's see. Are you guys releasing a scale engine to go with the tranny set? So that one is kind of going to, that'll be a little bit easier for some of like the 3D printing guys that we like to work with. It'll actually be really easy with those two mounts on the side of the front of it. And it'll just kind of go nice cover over the servos. So you'll have a super nice looking engine bay. You know, the ability to place it kind of wherever you need it to work with your body style. Should work really well. Super simple, and should make it pretty affordable to do. Is Dan off camera watching more pre-orders roll in? No, Dan is doing work over there. He's bolting wheel hubs and beadlocks together so that we don't have to watch us do that later. So we've got the transmission bolted up to the chassis now. The next step is shocks, and luckily they're done. Boom. Nobody wanted to see that. Bag E. Where is Bag E? Baggy? Get it?
Right.
Okay. Oh, I need the other hardware that was in it. The top screws and stuff. The long ones.
This is all of the bag right there.
Oh, that's because that's in the next bag. This step is just literally building the shocks, so actually don't need them yet. We're going to put them aside. Did you only hand me 3? Or did I somehow lose a shock in 10 seconds?
Did you lose one already? Did you really lose a shock?
How is that even possible? That's amazing.
Did you really?
Did you seriously only hand me 3?
No, I hit you 4.
How did I lose the shock? There it is. Got it. Workbench trolls. So next step is actually building links. I used to hate this step a lot more, but not as much now. What is this tool called that builds shocks for you? I know what I call them. So here's all of those pieces of hardware.
I hate you. Those aren't just any shocks, those are correct shocks. There's a difference.
Mm-hmm. I had Dan build beadlocks for me once live. And I took them out and my beadlock screws fell out. He like finger tightened them and fell asleep.
It was for video. You didn't tell me you were going to try it.
All right, let's see. This is kind of, so I've got this tool here, which is a 3D printed tool, and it's called a Zerba tool. RC Scaleworks prints them. They're called a Zerba tool after Shane Zerba. Your favorite builder's favorite builder is his hashtag, which is kind of funny. So what I do is I chuck the link into my drill. I put the rod end in the Zerba tool. Pipe it on. And we rinse and repeat. So we only do this on one side, and then I'll show you what we do on the other. Did I just PERT plus that? Yes. PERT plus, rinse, lather, rinse, repeat.
Still the small one.
Okay. Is Pert Plus still a thing? Someone Google that.
Eric, probably.
So we have 9 of the links half done. 9 of 10. So that's 90. We're at 45% completion. See how fast that now? So now that we've got the rod ends on half of them, I've got this other tool here. This is an axial dog bone. I actually had an O-ring on this, but it wore out and broke. So what I do is I put the dog bone in the drill side, and I've actually ground it wider, and it now accepts a rod end. See? So now I take the link with the one rod end on it, and I put that in the Zerba tool, kind of hold it by hand. And get it there, line them up by hand. So now we have a link done. And again, Pert Plus. Pert Plus still makes it 2-in-1, Dan, in case you wondered.
I was really wondering about that.
Let's see. The reason I like the O-ring is important is so that it doesn't let the rod end slide out of position. But my rod end, or my O-rings are in the other room, and that seems like a long ways away. We're almost there. 4 of them are done. This makes link building much less of a pain. Seven down.
Are you putting center caps on it or no?
No. Eight down. My thumbs get so sore putting on rod ends. Yeah, I built too many link kits that I just don't like doing that anymore. So now 9 links done. The only one that's kind of a bummer is the bent rod end, which if you put into a drill, you end up with the helicopter. So you just have to try and hold it by hand. You can't use the tool. Then align the rod ends with the bends. Being that it's a bent rod end, or bent link, it's a little bit easier to hold by hand. So now, there we go. We got all of our links with rod ends. So we just have the fun part of the pivot balls themselves, but that's not so bad. Oh, I had a piece of hardware left over. I forgot. This is a flathead screw. It's like an M3 by 12, and it goes in the bottom of the skid plate into the front of the motor plate. So screws in, tightens up nice, and that just makes sure that if you ever were able to grab that lip of that skid plate, it wouldn't pull down. It just holds it in place super rigid. But so now, where did my rod end pliers go? Did you take them? My shock pliers? Yeah. So we just have to put the pivot balls in. I use shock pliers for them. They've got like a rod end area. I don't usually like to use that. I use the larger end for grabbing shock shafts. But saves your thumbs. Two down. I don't know how long it took us to build the links, but it had to be less than less than 10 minutes, I have to think. But it's also just much more frustration free. Not spinning hex drivers around or trying to just twist them by hand. If you've been into crawlers, at least for some length of time, you probably have one of those old axial dog bone stub axles laying around that you can grind out. And then, like I said, that Zerba tool is from RC Scaleworks. Oh, I think it's Scaleworks spelled differently. All I know is if you search for Scaleworks, W-O-R-X, if you search for Scaleworks without that, you come to some crazy, weird cosplay, furry type looking site. It is not what you're looking for.
Wow. You actually kept going.
Well, I tried to. Yeah, it was. Just be careful. I think it's actually even RC Scaleworks. I just think the RC must stand for something way different. I do not know.
There might be battery operated.
Gotta be careful on the interwebs. And 2 pivot balls left. And our links are all done. Boom. You don't need shock pliers, right? Nope. Okay. So, links are done. We can put our rod end tool away. I take and drill a little hole in the rod end tool, and then I just put that dog bone in it, and then I just put that whole thing in my toolbox. So then they stay together. Kind of like looking up axial without the racing. Yes. Another, I mean, some would say that these are kind of an adult toy.
Different.
Yeah.
Much different.
Got to be handy with the search bar. You know what I mean? Earn your keep. I don't remember how the rest of that regulators thing goes. Something and then mount up.
Different.
Upper link first. So I think that is our 90 something. Upper link. It's the longer of the. We've got 2 equal length. We've got 1 oddball taper and then 2 long tapered. It's the middle one. We need our M3 by 20. You have the power driver. 2.5. What'd you do? Oh, this thing actually has a lock? Weird. Isn't that? Okay. Front upper. We need front lowers. So the links are 1/4-inch stainless lowers. Oh. We have a visitor outside here. Is of the type without a residence. You want to go yell at him, Dan? So lowers are in, uppers are in on the front. Oh yeah, here. Feels intent. RC, click. You want to get my keys? So that's on there. And then, we can put the panhard on now. And drag link, really. So I think it's 16, 12. Oh, that's the upper link. That side is a 16. So we're going to install the drag link and panhard, then we'll get the whole front axle assembly in this thing. Okay, and we need to put the that on, lowers. Grab the whole front axle first. I think it's a 25, 22. That 20. Find the other. So it takes a 22 millimeter screw on the knuckle side, and there's only 2 of them, and the other ones are all 20s. So you got to be a little bit careful and make sure you grab the right one. RC Scaleworks has the V1 of the tool, and so I've had both. The only difference between a V1 and a V2 is that the V2 works if you have the pivot ball already pressed in there, and I never do it that way because the other end of my tool doesn't work that way. I just do it all at the end. So pick up the V1s if you don't really mind. It's not something I would care about just because of how I use it, but you know, they made a V2 for a reason, they suppose, as well, so kind of up to you. But personally, I would not mind having a V1 just the same. When I got the V2, I gave my V1 to Brandon. I think that's what he uses now. So this side can be a little tricky. It's actually easier if you don't put that high steer knuckle on, but we're going to take and put a little grease on this pivot ball end. So you put a little grease on the end of the pivot ball. Sometimes you can put the spacers on that, and then they don't fall off. It kind of holds themselves in place. Just long enough to get the hardware started. So, oh, I had it, I dropped it. Whoops. Okay, got it. So now we've got our drag link tie rod connected. SCX10 2 knuckles compatible with this kit. They're compatible, but the new knuckles that come on here are clearanced more. And later on down the road, all of the knuckles will just be clearanced the same way. But for now, the ones that come in this are slightly different. And we should bolt up the shocks while we're here. So
It actually feels really good with it.
that's good. 16 millimeters. Use a little Loctite. So the front driver's side shock actually threads into the pumpkin, or the third member. So it kind of goes in and it threads into that. So if you ever do want to take out the third member, you actually do need to take out that shock. So don't take out the four and then just start pulling on it and wondering why nothing's happening. That. Dan's not in the room, but he actually did do a really nice job on the shocks. I'm just not going to tell him. Feel really good. So front axle ready to go. We can bolt it into the chassis. So what's Dan finished just now all the wheels and tires. So, and then he's old, so he probably had to go to the bathroom. So we're gonna hook up the drive shaft before hooking up all the links. Make sure to phase the drive shafts, meaning lining up the tabs on the drive shaft front to rear so that everything spins nice and smooth and you don't get a bunch of chatter. We're gonna hook up the upper link while we've got easier access.
Jim's texting me.
Ah. Okay. So upper link's on, lower link next. And I actually just misspoke. The lower link threads into the third member, not the shock. Actually, I need to put some Loctite on that one. There's no lock nut. Okay.
This morning.
Shocks on the right side.
Still warm.
What? Are you drinking 12 or 14-hour-old coffee?
It's still warm. Says something about these articles.
Disgusting. That's disgusting. Old ass coffee. Look up.
It was there.
So now we got panhard hooked up. We need to hook our drag link up to our servo. That's 7. That is 14 hours old.
Yeah.
What? There's my. Box is attached. Now connect the shocks. Question about running a Holmes revolver. Yep, we covered that a little bit earlier, but yes, you could run a Holmes revolver in this. That it was tested with one during the rest of the testing stuff. They had to they trimmed the length of the actual output shaft on it down a little bit because I think it rubbed on the spur gear cover maybe, but I think that was it. So nice and smooth. So you can see the drive shaft there right next to the skid plate. Which runs right next to it, and you can see the drive shaft running right next to the motor basically. And the bottom of the skid plate is just even with the bottom of the links when it's at full stop. So then you can see that motor position just it's right up there, tucks right up behind the pumpkin. When we did the first VS4-10, we kicked that front upper link over just to make sure that there was room for all of this. It just, that's why the front upper link was kicked over originally. Just we needed that room to make sure that in the future we could do this. And just took time to get there. So hey, thank you, Mr. Clutch, for $10. What? Yeah. You don't get any. Okay, I'll give you $3.
Hey, I'll take it. I grease for $1.
So we've got front axle. That's all done. We can go to the rear. Right. Oh, you're taking the my double-sided tape off the bottom of my ESC? Sounded like someone scraping Sudafed over there. Yeah, I don't have any goof off. Nope, too long. They're shock screws.
I've done this once or twice. You don't need it.
Rear axle should go much faster.
Was the other kit, the wheels weren't actually somewhat assembled, were they?
I don't think so.
These actually come with the wheels inside the tire already.
Oh, right. That was a packaging thing.
Yeah.
Getting size down.
It makes it nice. They go together extremely quick.
So a couple little changes on wheels and tires. The foams in this one is a little bit softer. People didn't like the firmer foams, and it was part of the reason that it was harder to mount the tires. But I like a firmer foam, so that's probably my fault. I argued for firmer foams, and that was a pain in the butt. So my bad. But so they went to just a little bit different foam now. Makes it a little bit easier to work with in general too. Are you going to run the Bronco looking body on this one? No, we've got a regular Origin looking body. I actually am not going to run that Bronco body with the cage. I just don't think that one's gonna get finished. I'm gonna change that body out to something different. I just don't like how high the body is in the back because that's made to be it was originally like a Wraith cage, so, or a Wraith body, adapted to a regular one. So I don't think I'm gonna actually use that. Change that whole thing to something else and make some sort of different project. So 20 millimeter for the uppers. One done. What's up with the $10? The $10 is Mr. Clutch. You can like give. Oh, I put a 16 in there. You can send money. It's called Super Chat on YouTube. Where's my other 20? Try and grab the right ones. Basically, just like showing support without me having to take off any clothing.
Thank God.
But there's like other things for.
Send more money, please.
It gives you like priority on chat, I think, things like that. It helps, pops up your messages or highlights them. So yeah, but regardless, I appreciate it.
Is this the new way of doing it?
Yeah. Don't worry about it. It's not going to come undone. So, should have put the shock link screws on as well, but I didn't. Will you be posting? So it basically just goes, this video goes live after we're done here. It just can watch it basically in the form that you just did. You just won't get to hear my witty banter live with your comments. So, oh, that's that. Oops, I think I used a longer screw in a different spot. This one's 2 millimeters too long. Means I used a 2 millimeter too short one somewhere else. Yeah, I did. I used the wrong screw somewhere. What spot? That one looks right. Looks right. That was my fault. See what happens when you don't pay attention?
Oh, what happened?
I used the wrong screw.
Oh. You woke me up
Oh,
for that?
did you fall asleep?
No, not yet. Waiting for the good stuff.
Right. So we get, the good news is we have the body and all that done.
Almost 3,500 on 4S.
Right. Oops. Yeah. This is why I should have put on the screws before they were in the axle. This one's too long. See?
What are you doing?
Just having a hell of a time. A grand old time, though. Jesus. Hey, what is that? What is Veter juice? Veter juice tips $10. So I use $6 now.
Veter juice.
Veter juice. Which
Not sure what Veter juice is, but cool. Keep it coming. I'll have lunch next week.
Don't know if you're. I don't know if you're Lucas from the Proline. Oh yeah, Proline by the. Yes, we crawled last year. We didn't get to crawl this year, but then I remember you guys brought your full size. So thanks for stopping in, man. And Veter Juice. I don't know if we've ever met, but thank you as well. And please explain your screen name. All right, we've got a slider. What do we call this at this point?
Slider.
So done and doner. Now time for bumpers. Got to open G bag. So what's that? start dancing for money.
No,
Anybody who's ever even seen me walk knows that that's a bad
no,
idea.
that's not going to happen. He isn't the right part of town for that to happen.
Yeah. A lot of people doing things for money around this area of town.
That's not when we want
Yeah.
to see.
Every once in a while, you'll catch them on the side of our building.
Coming to work too early.
So when can I get my grubby mitts on this kit? I'm keep asking until you answer. Oh, sorry. They will ship at this point. Late July is what we're giving, and I think that
End of July is what
end of July, late July. I saying that to try and
If you get it before that, it's a bonus.
yeah, I don't think I'll disappoint anybody with saying that. You'll get it. You get it on or before that. I'm pretty sure. Anything can happen, but everything looks good. So, did your orange helmet make it home safe? Yes, Jeremy, it did. The orange one is still on my desk. I've actually used 4 of the other ones you gave me. 2 of them in the Traxxas budget build, and then 2 of them in, what did I use the 2 skull ones in?
But you were talking about the one you had to wear at home when you.
Yeah, the helmet I have to wear around at home. Shut it. No. No, I had said that I needed to. So during the budget build, I put a Traxxas interior in, and anyway, I said I needed to save up in the budget for helmets. Well, meaning that anyway, we're at K&K. Jeremy came up and handed me
Okay.
6 or 8 helmets. I think we were standing there.
Yeah, Gilbert. Hey, usually when you talk about helmets, it's
Yeah. So the rear bumper, tubular style. Can I see it? Got a little receiver hitch built in, right? All that fun, fancy stuff. And it even comes with a couple of trailer hitch accessories. Trailer hitches and trailer hitch accessories. It comes with the traditional tiny black ball.
Does that unscrew?
No, it doesn't unscrew.
Aye.
And then it comes with the D-ring mount style. We're going to give it the D-ring. So slides in, and M3x12. Slide in your D-ring into the there. Secure it on the bottom. And then gently insert your bumper. I don't remember the exact location. We're just going to go all the way in. I think that is the location. It does not say that specifically in the instructions, which I should know. All the way in. That's what I thought. But we really should note that. I will note it in my videos. So I am losing track of comments. We don't need no stinking bumpers. A buddy off PS4 gave him Viter juice. That does not help the curiosity. Don't just come up with Viter juice and then just roll with it. Yeah, there's got to be some explanation. So there's 2 standard style set pins that hold the bumper in place, just like you would normally be used to. Then there's 2 additional M3x8 socket head screws. Find those, and there's holes right next to where the bumper set pins go in, and those basically go down, and the cap of the actual socket head screw interferes with the post on the bumper and just locks everything in place. On the bumpers that are included, it doesn't make a ton of difference because the tolerances are already super tight. But if you're using some of the aftermarket bumpers that are, you know, a looser tolerance, they might wobble around a little bit until you put those 2 screws in, then just locks everything down and makes them just super rigid. These are pretty much super rigid out of the box, but nonetheless, we're going to put the screws in. So front bumper next. Again, another tubular style one, kind of a, you know, just a bent. It's got nice approach and departure angle. It's got a fair lead molded into it. And if you didn't know from the chassis kit, so of course it's got the servo winch location. Then on the bottom side, it's actually got the winch line routing. You kind of see that groove there in the center. It comes out the front, right there in the center. And that lines up with the fair lead. So put that all in, those all line up with each other, and it just, can't see it, I know, whatever. But it's there, it functions well. And now you know. So if you want to run a servo winch, the bumper presses all the way in the front as well. Our other set screw. You have to donate $10 to get an answer. I think I answered him before he said that. After he said that. I think the release date is July 31st. We're being conservative, and I think that anybody who ordered will hope to get them on or before the date that we told them at the beginning. We don't expect any major delays that would make us miss the date that we gave. So, front and rear bumpers installed. Sliders. So the kit comes with the plastic sliders. They're very similar style to the one that came on the Origin Limited. There's also the generic sliders in here, and these are what comes with the chassis kit. So if you're going to change bodies or something like that and you want a narrower and shorter slider, this one is included in case you want to change up the style. The other sliders, there's a left and a right, just like the generic ones. So, and if you had a previous version, you'll notice that there was little body set pieces that went on the inside to help hold the body out. This one's got those as well. They're just molded. So, hunt down our M3x8s. Are you still drinking that coffee?
No, Pepsi.
Oh, Pepsi, okay. Oh, also, it does come with little D-rings in case you wanted to install them onto the D-ring deal thing with the deal and the stuff. My name is Victor. You're not some access over on Facebook. Okay. Well, if your name is Victor and then they call you Viter Juice, we're getting closer to something reasonable. How many scale points out of the box? Ugh. Dan, pull up the calculator. The scale points calculator app. Do you have the app?
No, I think it's like 17 or 18.
I think I have the app.
Well, this one's different. No, the old one was 17 or 18. This one would be a drop dead.
So this one does have a deep enough bed to be drop bed.
I think that's
Because it's like 30 millimeters, and I think the rule is an inch.
I don't do Sorka. Not a big.
I don't track the Sorka stuff much either.
Next year I might though.
You might.
It's in Vegas. I think somewhere close to there. Rumor has it.
I would go to Vegas for a skit for Sorka if
For scale mats.
for scale gnats. And it's early in the year, so it shouldn't be stupid hot.
Exactly. That's the rumor. I don't know if it's anything true or not, but
So-
if that's the case, might have to make a road trip.
Right. Do you want to put all these little body set pieces on? Because that was boring. So, how many is there? 4 or 5? I think there's 4. There's that. I'm going to start putting the. Oh, will you grab me the painted fender wells out of that top box? Any plans to do the OG VS4 axles in gray? Right now, no. Right now, like we usually do clear and black until we can keep up, and then do gray. But with offering all another style of axle now and all that, it's just like we'll likely not do the gray for a while just to try and keep up. So I don't know about never, but not right now. So we've got the bumpers mounted, slider mounted. I already painted the fender wells. You can tell by how awesome this paint job is. So it looks good in 720p while moving fast.
Those all high gloss.
I painted them on both sides.
High gloss.
I mean, let's be reasonable.
This is why Josh doesn't paint.
It's my PS5. What steering servo is in it? I've got a Futaba S9177 SV, around 500 some odd ounce inches.
$477.
It's not. It's like 150 bucks. It's waterproof. It's got some of the best gears.
Yes. They're good.
So I mean, it's really, honestly, the gears are better than almost any of the servos. Just realized how bad it sucked to try and put those screws in by hand. Okay, fenders are on this side. Once complete with electronics, what's the weight? I'm going to be watching someone else build our C's. Can't be very relaxed. My running one with my battery in it, my larger battery, I think was like 7.3. That's with like a 5,000 milliamp battery in it, just a big battery. So. Let's see. We're going to have to put one of the battery plates on. Thought I needed to put the standoff on. Guess not. Oh no, it screws down. So this is one of the side battery trays or electronics tray, whatever. It has points. You can kind of see the grooves here in the outside portion, and that's if you want to run like side-mounted batteries. You can put one of the Velcro straps in that location in case you want to run side-mount. I like to do that when I'm running the little 4S packs, but for this one, we're going to put the full-size battery tray on, show you guys the full setup, and then you can decide how you want to set yours up, ultimately down the road. So, and 3x8s. Oh, wait, not in, only in the rear outside. That was a 10. Put a 10 millimeter in by accident. Let's see. Oh. Oh. Let's see. I need that bumper in metal, not plastic. The whatchamacallit, yeah. When can we get the body? The body will be available separately, but it'll be a while. Scale Nat's back in Colorado. Colorado, man, what was that, 2015? Last time I was in Colorado for Scale Nat. Rocky Mountain Scale Nat. I took the Deadbolt budget build there. It's a good time. I like Colorado. I would go back to Colorado.
Never been. That'd be a fun one.
Colorado's a great spot. Terrain's awesome. So that now I need to install all this stuff on the other side. So basically, we've got the wheel wells on now, attaching the back there with the 2 screws there. Then they overlap onto the slider base, and then the electronics tray helps sandwich them down, so they're held super rigid in place. Works nice. Got the little body set pieces that hold body sets in between there. Keeps the body from folding in. Looks a little bit more realistic when it moves and all that. Let's see. Working the dual clutch a bit. It works well. Yes, allergic to paint. That's my new one now. That's why I don't paint. I'm allergic to paint. I'm allergic to painting all things. Houses, cars.
Or you're just really bad at it. You can just
It's because
say how it really is.
it's an allergic reaction is the thing.
No. It's just
Allergic reaction that causes bad paint jobs.
if there's a YouTube video with needed paint done in it, there's a $10 donation attached to it, you can paint. And you have a good painter here, so.
Right. That's in.
Something else. Now that we don't have the battery tray, this is a perfect spot for your electronic, for your receiver.
Oh, right.
Keeps it way up out of the way, so if you do go in water, half a tire.
Would you recommend the F9s that came with the kit or TRX 4 axles on building the chassis kit? You must mean like the first kit. You know, there's just, I don't like portals under everything. I'm building a chassis kit with portals, but generally I prefer a regular style axle. But just whatever you're building it for, you know. Kind of depends. All right, other battery tray. We're actually getting close to the end here. Especially since the body is actually already done and assembled, but we're going to go over the body. Oh, I got a motor wire tucked between them. Got it. I love the laser cut bodies because I hate cutting Lexan. Thanks for that. You know, it's I am on the same page. I understand that some people would rather have it the other way so they didn't have body posts holes, and I get that too. So it's a can't please everyone route, but right. So we've got all 4 fender wells on, the electronics trays on both sides. Good to go. Now this is the full-size battery tray here. We got to put the straps on. I always got to remember so I put these in the right way so the logo shows. This way. That. Then we need this is the dig servo mount. This actually comes in the chassis kit. We didn't really point out what it was because we weren't ready to yet, but a bunch of people were asking when they were assembling it. It was just like, just wait a minute.
What's the front motor mount? There's transmission in it also.
So yeah, the motor mounts or transmission mounts, whatever you call it, for the VFD were actually also in there, but they weren't as obvious, but you could still tell something was up.
You can still ask what it was. I don't know. Check it.
Is the new interior deeper than the last? The front part of the interior is exactly the same. So the depth or any accessories or anything like that, the front part will be the exact same. So if you have anything, you can transfer them over or buy new or buy the same or buy whatever. But it's the same there. Jesus Christ. This comment. I just had kielbasa, sauerkraut, and pierogies, and now coffee and oatmeal cookies burp.
Wow.
You, sir, have an odd diet.
I'm not sure that all goes together.
I know. That's a wicked combo. So when we go to install this setup now into the chassis, there are 2, there it is, of these little spacers, and they go underneath of the battery plate and they tie into the side electronics trays. Okay. That. What was Dan saying about the electronics up front? I'll show you, but there's the old recess from the previous battery tray. Leaves you kind of like a good location if you want to mount your receiver up higher and out of the way. You can mount it to that portion of the inner fender. So that, and now in 3x12s. Back here everywhere. I got the bits again. So that rear servo mount that we just put there ties into the rear cross brace and ties into that battery tray across. The battery tray with those spacers and everything ties down into these frame rails or the slider bases on both sides. So it ties everything together, and it's just like, I mean, this whole like side to side is just insanely rigid. Oh, we have to ban a spammer. Remove. There we go. So, sorry, spammer. Fixed. Do I still have my carnivore? Yes, I still do. I haven't driven it since last October, though.
It'll work.
Yeah, it's running. I took it down to Proline. It was running. I just didn't end up driving it. I sat in the booth all day. Coming out the booth. So at this point, it's actually time for like body and detail assembly. And let's grab all the clear parts for the body. And I'll show you guys like all of the parts. And then we're just going to do the old like Rachel Ray. This is what it looks like. This is what it looks like done. I know that Rachel Ray reference may take knock away some. Okay, yeah, you can install the. Dan's going to install wheels and tires because that makes things easy. So this is what the body looks like unpainted. Let me catch up on. Put tuning discs on my last set of Proline tires. Explain the reasoning behind putting them on the inside versus the outside. It's just where I felt the right place was for where I wanted the tires not to move. I don't know if it matters. That's the place where I find that I think that I feel like they're best. I could be wrong. I don't have a real. It's just my gut decision. There's very little beyond that I really feel strongly about. What hex tools am I using in the power driver? That is a dynamite set. It's straight up Horizon. That's like a 5-year-old set, probably, maybe more. Was Dan running the new transmission in his Jeep at K&K? No. That's just a regular 3-gear, right? But it was like mounted up front to a trans. Yeah, that was a regular 3 in his little Class 1 Jeep. That's just a regular one.
I was running it in Class 2.
Yeah, he had it in his Class 2 Origin with the half cab. Do I think the SCX24 bodies, aftermarket companies, make anything for them? SCX24 is like a whole nother ballgame, right? Whoa, did I miss it? There we go. I took a longer look at this rig after last night. What did I miss? It's almost done. I missed most of it. We should do VP shirts, I guess. I agree. Why doesn't VP include stickers with their products? We include stickers if you buy from us. We just don't put them like in the packages. So if you buy from a dealer, sometimes you don't get the stickers. So because it's like a big sticker sheet. So if you order direct, you get them from us. Here's the body, the half cab style. You'll notice, like I was saying before, if you weren't here, the bed is not part of the body. It's actually part of the interior. So it's all pre-cut. Everything from the door handles to the windshield wiper spots, everything is ready to go. The lights in the back, or the screws for the lights in the back, as well as around the front grille where the headlight screws go. So everything is done. Then we've got the interior here. So now the interior, we've got the front portion and then the rear bed. So when you get it in there, it actually bolts together along that back edge, and that gives you the drop bed. Also easily lets you easily paint them different colors without having to mask it or anything like that. You can do a two-tone style bed much easier than before. So a little bit different there. As far as the interior goes, you've got the bucket seat style, and then there's a separate dash that is cut and ready to go and has the holes cut for the steering wheel assembly. The dash just kind of drops in there, gives you a nice little space. And then when it's done, it looks more like this. So our truck's done. This body was painted by Corey Johnson. Yes, Corey Johnson, Rusty Brushes. So he painted the body. Bed. He detailed the interior and all that. Put all the stickers on it. He weathered it. It's made to look like Aaron Kaufman's Scout build from, what is that show called? Arclight Fab is his shop. There's a name for that show.
KOH build he did.
He did a KOH build with a Scout, and this is what it's made to look like. So, you should paint it pink, sparkles, and unicorns.
Wow.
Just moving the motor gearbox up, change performance, battery now sits reverse with the front. So the battery position, you've got multiple positions. It kind of depends where you put it. The battery position back here is still actually like the center of mass of the battery is actually still lower than a front mounted one. It's it is further back, but you do have the motor further forward, so it gives you kind of offsets that depending on how you want to do it. But if now you decide to run a smaller pack on the side, like a 2200 milliamp 3S sits perfectly here, or I run like 4S 1300 packs on the side, then you've got a lot of weight forward, really low, just gives you a balance. But even if you put it back here, it still just climbs really well. It allows us to do the things like the overdrive. So depending on how performance oriented you are, you can really push something like this further. So you can also fit a small battery up front, but that is higher, so I prefer them down along the sides myself. Let's see. Shifting Gears was the show with Aaron Kaufman.
Yes.
Thank you. Who said that? Carl Moore. Thank you. I appreciate that. But yeah, so that was the design there. How well would 475s fit the body? These are 465, so they would be 50 thou bigger per side. Oh, Dan, I can tell you. So this is with 465s. This one, and then that's with 475s. So this is Dan's truck. These are Proline KM3s, right? Yeah, KM3s. So this is Dan's all detailed out. This one also painted by Corey. So he did both of these. Let's see. Wow, everybody said shit. Thank you. How about a fanny pack? I don't know what that means, but I wish fanny packs were cool because I would wear one all the time.
They're
It's
not
so handy.
They're not, so don't.
I know. If they were cool, I would have one on every damn day.
That's scary.
Tell my wife that all the time. When the day comes that I stop caring completely, fanny pack. Overdrive was that? The truck has overdrive out of the box, so yeah. So there you go. I don't know what you meant by overdrive was that a hint. It has overdrive now. Does anybody ask what the price is? Yes, $749.99. Fanny pack is the new tool belt for RC. I know.
No, it's not. Backpack is.
Matt wore a tactical hip bag at Proline by the Fire.
This is Matt.
I know.
He's from Canada.
I know. Maybe they're cool in Canada. That would be a reason to move to Canada.
No.
That's if fanny packs were cool there.
If that's all it takes you to move to Canada, they're cool.
Tactical hip bag, I think is what he called it. So get everything done.
Dresses just cool.
Drops down in. So here we go. My mom busted me out there. She said, you loved fanny packs as a kid.
Wow! So it's been going on forever.
It's a nostalgia thing. I think they were neon colors. Wow. It was the early 90s. Yeah, it would have been late 80s. So I'd have been, in 90, I would have been 7. So I would have been 6 in the 80s. VP fanny packs.
No. Whoever said
That's
that, no.
such a good idea.
No. Terrible
that would
idea.
make them cool.
No, it wouldn't. Don't encourage people, please.
You talked about side mounting the battery pack. I see. That's how it came. Both trucks were sure. Fanny packs are all over Europe. I know. When is that trend going to come here?
They're 15 years behind us. It tells you something.
He says we're 20 years behind them. See, in style. Should do a Simon and Simon Power Wagon body. I do not know what Simon is. That sounds familiar, like a show in the 90s, 80s, 90s. Hi Josh. Hey, can you rebuild the tranny? I was at Walmart.
Wow. That Mike Center.
That's funny. Tactical hip bag equals immerse. Fanny pack life. Yeah, I'd buy a VP fanny. See, exactly.
We'd sell 10 of them.
Free with your VS4-10.
We'd have to give them away.
People call us VP fanboys. We could be VP fanny pack boys.
That's not helping. Wow.
Ah, shit.
No.
That makes
that made it all bad.
All right. Let's see. Where is our electronics? Will you grab my radio box in the other room? It's my 4PX box, but it's got my 4PV in it. Dan's gone. I can use way too much double-sided tape again. So let's first mock up where we're going to put it. Wow. So I've got a 10-inch sensor wire on this one. If I had like a 4-inch sensor wire, I'd be way happier. You just put everything so much closer. Red is A. White is B. So we just gotta decide what side we want to put this on. And we're gonna put it on this side. Put it there. Where do I want to put it? Put it that way. What about those fancy fanny pack jackets? I have no idea what that means. Honestly, I don't think that this whole fanny pack thing is going to go away. Though.
You remember this?
What about it? Oh, that's right.
Don't ever let Josh know you're getting your skins done for your radio.
Dan was having skins done for his radio. You can see, all fancy. And he had it done from a friend of mine. And my friend snuck a very faint version of my logo onto his radio. And now, see,
I'm scared to get skins done. But he does do good work.
So, channel 1. It's not even dark yet, Dan.
Nope. Only 8 o'clock.
Okay, so let's do a little cable management here. Let's see. This truck would look cool with a cage around it. I'm not a big fan of exo cages, but I mean, some cage work in the bed, absolutely. I'm gonna route this behind, down. Well, my flush cuts. So, going to take this mess of wires and roll it into a giant ball. All right there. All right, now I'm behind on common skin. I see where we can have it made for him and shipped to VP. Oh my god. You have a 10-inch sensor wire. That's what she said.
Wow.
Yeah, mine's a 4-inch. Hey, your CNC is running. Yep, you can hear him in the background. What am I making? Axles for this truck. Etsy totally has custom fanny packs for $15.
Sure.
VP satchel with water bladder.
So
Performance percentage advantage over old kit out of the box. There's a pretty big difference in how this thing drives out of the box, being that it does have plastic bumpers versus the old metal bumpers. The overdrive is a big help. You know, those are big things right off the bat. The battery position on the old one was really good. The motor was more midship, but this one is nice and low, lower than the old one there. So, you know, overall, the bumpers have a lot more approach and departure angles. That's another big thing. So, I don't know how you give it a percentage, but it's a noticeably different driving experience. Now the SPG was rocking fan. Exactly. That's what I said. When does Matt get his kit? He got it 2 or 3 days ago. I think his is done. Will the original Origin kit be going away? Depends on how hard it is for us to keep up with these. If it's tough, maybe, probably, possibly. Who knows? Use 2 fanny packs instead of a backpack. Your pants will be falling down. So, I think I have a battery in here. Is there a battery right behind this? Or do those have Deans on it?
Deans.
I think there's a LiPo bag on my desk. Stay hydrated. Sparkling water. Cherry limeade even. Because I'm fancy like that. So I can put all this stuff away, I think, because we're drivable. And then the good news is we can look at all of the other stuff. No smart water tonight. I have one on my desk, but it's warm, so I opted for not that. Because warm water is not my preference. And honestly, I've gone more towards sparkling water now. I've evolved into that level of sophistication. Let's see. If you don't have good approach and park clearance, you're not having fun. It's definitely, for me, I agree. Does the new trans fit the old rig? Yes. It takes just, you got to have the new skid plate, but, so, what do we got here? 2300, perfect. So, I don't have any full-size batteries in here, but this is a Genzace or a Tattoo, Genzace Tattoo, whatever, same thing. 2300 milliamp 3S pack. So just 3S, not 4S. You want to grab one of those full-size ones right there? And I'll just show that it. So this is like a full-size 4500 milliamp 3S hard case battery. And if you wanted, this is a Dean's plug and this is a XT60. But so just for reference, at least. So, for reference, it sits in there like that, but it's still really low. Can you grab that clear bottle? pull that one off. It's easy to show them. No center caps on the wheels. Sorry, I was like, they come with it if you want to run them. I don't put them on normally just because I don't personally enjoy run. I like to be able to take my wheels on and off easily, and the center caps make that difficult. This is the full body set, all bolted up with all the details. You know, door handles, the hard molded plastic grill, light buckets, radiator, the whole deal. Everything's bolted up in there, but it's all clear, so you can kind of see how everything sits. So my these motor wires are tall. I didn't look at the clearance on that. They're pushing on the seat right now, so that's but it sits in there, and you can still see it's basically just over top of the rocker. So it's, the battery in this location is just over the top of the frame rails in the back by like 5 or 6 millimeters. So everything is so low that it makes it look taller, but it's really super low still. So big difference. Did I just build the entire rig in 3 hours while chatting? Kind of, because Dan built the shocks and the wheels. So, and the body was done already. So let's not, like I said, I took the
Another hour.
I took the Rachel Ray approach where you put it in the oven and it comes out done almost. So, my radio. Oh, my radio's still set on my Tiny Dancer.
More information that you need to share on YouTube.
All right. God, which. I'll just reset it. I don't know what we're going to call this one yet.
VS4-10, number 7.213.
I probably need to change it to THFSS. Receiver SFHSS. So steering's good. I need to reverse the throttle. So good to go. 3,500 is quite a bit.
That might be a little overkill.
That'll be fun. But we're good to go. So, I need to adjust those castle settings. That's got the loud settings in it. That whole loud startup. Yeah. Need to adjust the frequency on that. But it works. It's not like I have any terrain to really go show you guys this thing. But so there we go. Body. You got the body fit?
Somewhere.
Oh, I don't know what you did with the mirror.
There's the other bag. We didn't open that bag yet.
Oh yeah, we didn't open that bag because it was all the detail parts we didn't need yet.
That's all right. Let's get them off another one.
Yeah. done and done. Let's see. All right, sorry, I missed a bunch. In order to get a fanny back, is a man bun required? No. See, we're trying to make them cool again. Just watch this whole stream, didn't get any work done. Mamba X. I love the Mamba X. It's great ESC. I've mainly been running RX4s in my test rigs, but Mamba X is still a great one. So I still. Let's see. Put tape on the wheels, show us the overdrive. I like using Velcro on my battery trays. At times hit hard tumbles and the battery go flying. Depending on the size of the battery, totally agree. This, like, if you use a full-size one in this and you have the Velcro on, I don't think it's ever coming loose. Crystal clear body, what a mole. We did that when we took it for display, just because, you know, with it all assembled, you kind of see how low everything was, and it made for a cool look. Our Q series coming back, we'll be doing more Q series. We did some already, you know, we've been doing some. Most of them been going to my Ripper production though, so if you want to say Q series, you gotta buy Ripper. Yeah, but you can't buy a Ripper either. So you had to order a Ripper like 6 months ago. Shocks take me a week to even think about building. I kind of agree there. I probably would have done one and then just said I did the rest, but not put oil. So many trucks, one radio. My radio is, the thing with my radio is that I'll fill up the models, and basically then by the time I get back to the, like I fill it up, I can basically go back and I've probably sold off half of the other ones, so I can just start redoing them. And I usually, 40 models is usually enough for me. Sweet. Jim just texted me that they have smoke bombs. I need some for reasons.
Great.
So let's see. Where's the dig? The dig is not in here, but it's later. I don't want to do it.
I don't have one either, so
yeah, Dan doesn't even have one. We've got the test versions. He hasn't got one. How do you adjust the frequency on my bomber? Go into the castle thing. Good wheel speed. Yeah, definitely. 3,500 is a rocket.
It's got more wheel speed than mine on the 4S.
Great show and good hanging out. Hey, thanks for everybody who hung around this whole time. We're 3 hours and 25 minutes in. That had to be the most productive live stream I've ever had.
That was actually a lot of work in 3 hours.
We slammed through it. Everything went together super easy though. So
everybody who's
it's almost like
built,
it's the best kid ever made.
The
best kid ever made. No kid will ever been better.
A VS4-10 original though, it's always said,
yeah,
it's the best kit they've ever built.
So, the other, you know, this body is cut slightly higher up on the front grille than the old VS4-10. So if you went to these bumpers on the old one, you would have to trim it a little bit higher. So not much, but just a little bit. Is that a gift for me? Grandpa wants a ready to run. Yeah, I mean, there's so much work that goes into that. Like on the whole, like compliance side and all the regulation. Oh, it's so much work. Our designs, I'm here. Did I win? I take the truck. Wondering why no mirrors. Mirrors just get broken off too easy. So it's just one of those things. Door handles are small enough that they usually survive, but
RC 4-wheel drive does make a rubber mirror that doesn't look bad, and they hold up pretty well.
So,
but
yeah, there's some mirror options you could add on there, but it's a tough one, especially with mirror styles that matched this type of body.
Yes.
They were so tiny, just whew. Let's see. Enjoyed watching the entire build. Again, thanks for those guys that stayed around all the time. That was awesome. So yeah, that was we even caught up with comments now.
It's not bad.
Oh,
The builds are actually fun.
I don't know. I think I only stood up like once or so. This seat has caused some sweat. Sweet honey barbecue. Cletus McFarland. I'm right there. Jesus, Jim. I don't know what he's saying. I'll check the messages in a minute. Yeah, Dion, message me in like an hour or so. I think you're on. Are you on this side of the continent? Or are you on the East Coast? I don't remember. I thought you were on this side. 4-pole 4600 kV censored for my VS4-10. I haven't ran it yet. Holy crap! That is a lot.
Wow.
That is a lot of power. Even on 2S, that is a lot of motor. On 2S, it's not too bad. It's probably about like this.
That's what they're pushing in.
What about the A series? What about the A series lights coming back? I don't know what you mean. Oh, Q series. We just talked about that. Yeah. Looks ready to run. I'll buy that one. Let her rip, tater chip. Right. God bless America. Standing backflips with his girl. So, yep, we are in good shape. A couple little things for any of you guys who've hung around this long. The fuel cell in the bed of this truck. I don't want to keep switching back and forth between the clear body and this body. But if you want this little section back here, if you want to trim that out and either 3D print like a 10 millimeter tall spacer, it'll raise that fuel cell lid up to just right there. And if you wanted to detail it and have the bed cut out, you can have basically a perfect looking fuel cell that matches up with your chassis and everything. So,
Or
little tip.
take the nice custom on the other one and you trim it.
Oh, yeah.
Perfect.
Dan made a fuel cell for the back of his here. So it's not as bad as having like bumpers on bumpers with the Lexan bottle. He's got fuel cells on fuel cells. But
hey, you never have too much fuel.
Yeah, reserve, yeah, spare fuel tanks. That's more realistic than bumpers on bumpers. But thank you for watching. For those that are thanking for doing it, should put a roll cage on it. Totally agree.
Yeah,
definitely a cool cage or something. Cut out the interior and do something cool. All kinds of so many things I want to do. Jimmy Keene. Oh. Rebels. Okay, I see. I know that name. Seen that Jimmy Keene around. Go grab the TRX4 Sport that has. Go grab good grab on the TRX4 Sport. That was a long fall. Did you see that video? I almost took the TRX4 Sport off the cliff.
Something else. Nice Customs roll cage. You have to trim the back 2 bars.
Oh yeah. So like we were talking about the interior details and things like that. The Knights Customs roll cage that he's got, it's got an extra bar. So if you want to put it inside the cab, you need to trim off the back. But also James will probably be making a specific one. So he'll have options and all that kind of good stuff. So Dan's truck has got the black axles. This one's got the clear. So. Yeah. The old aluminum rock sliders that we used on the VS4-10 Limited, those will bolt right on here, and those will also be available separately in case you do want aluminum rock sliders. We also sent chassis kits to some of the fabricators like Wordy Made and Scalar Fab. So for you guys who have chassis kits and want bumpers or sliders, things like that, it's those will be available. Let's see.
That's just corrected. It's Night Customs.
Oh, did you say Knights?
No, both of us did apparently.
Damn it. Night Customs, not Knights.
Johnny,
say it wrong all the time.
Johnny
Stevens.
Send me a message. Retard.
I do it all the time. I say the scale news wrong.
I do it all the time.
Night
I
Customs.
think he needs to change his name to what
I
we
know,
call him.
exactly.
It'd be easy this way.
Brat seats, the rear jumper seat styles in the bed. Get extra scale points.
I have one in my original VS4-10.
Yeah, perfect. There you go. Let's turn them backwards. You're set. You get SUV cargo points and rear seat
It
points.
fits in here perfect because the way this is notched, it sits right there perfectly.
Did brat seats face forward? I thought they face.
No, they face backwards.
They fit, yeah.
But it'll sit perfectly.
Right. So, no, this truck was painted by Rusty Brushes to look like the Aaron Kaufman twin turbo. Not twin turbos. That's Brad Birdie.
Diesel.
No, not diesel.
Yeah, his was that.
Oh, his was a diesel,
Yeah.
but the shifting gears was the show.
That diesel scouting gear.
Let's see. Thanks for letting Josh play. My mom said good night, and then somebody else said thanks for letting Josh play.
Oh.
It's late in the Midwest. You should put a fanny pack on the passenger seat. Yes, scale. So Scale by Chris has been printing all kinds of weird stuff. The Scale Kleenex box was amazing. He should 3D print me a Scale fanny pack. I'm not much for scale details, but I will put one of those in every car.
Well, it means there's not a Scale Josh.
Let's see the driver in Dan's rig. Do you have a driver in yours?
Have you ever seen the driver in my rig?
No.
It's neat.
Oh my God. It's a 3D printed version of your head on a Wild Willie.
Yes. And it works very well.
I never. It's so it's a Wild Willie's figure, and actually the scale of it is perfect.
Yes.
And even the shifter even almost matches his hand.
I bent it over a little bit, but it's real close.
Wow. Oh wait, no, the whole figure is printed.
Yeah, and everything. It's all Brian from Exclusive.
Oh, gotcha.
I have two of them. There's another one in my the one. The VS.
It actually looks really good.
The regular VS4-10 and this one both have the same. They're painted a little bit different.
Right. Make it raw crawl.
I don't drive ghost cars, guys.
What? No voltmeter? Voltmeters and everything. Sometimes you just need ideas for budget builds. I still like them.
Your voltmeter.
How long do you get a running video of it? I posted 2 running videos already. I posted a new one today on my YouTube. That's 2 running videos in one. I posted one of the 2 running videos on Facebook, but I posted a full running video of 2 trucks out on the rocks today, as well as like a week ago. So you can go see 2 running videos at 3 different locations. Scale Josh with a fanny pack automobile.
No. Don't give him ideas. I'm amazed there's not a 3D printed Josh sitting on everybody's desk.
Looks like the guy from MythBusters. Yes, Jamie Hanneman.
Yeah.
Hanneman. Something. Yeah. Hanneman. Yes, it does. You're right. It just needs the clear glasses. Josh don't need no driver. It's right. Am I going to Crawlapalooza this year? Man, I don't know. Anything's possible, but my September is already getting crazy. We're going to Squirrel Fest in September 20th, 21st, and then I drive back 23rd, and then I leave the morning of the 24th to drive to Vegas for NERSA, the National Hobby Retail Store Association dealer show. So looks like evil. That's right. A little Aaron. I haven't seen Aaron in a while. Is Dan still putting together those TF2 wheels?
No, never again.
Oh my God.
Those wheels suck.
Let's see. How do you make the Mamba X less noisy, like the frequency thing you touched on earlier? Go in the settings and do you turn the number up or is it down?
Down, I believe.
Down?
Makes it freezer broadband.
There's a number. I don't know.
Up is
Most of the time, I have to go back through my text messages and find the number that I need.
up is
Go
snappy or down
go
is slow.
Yeah. I've got to. I have to. Sorry, got to close notifications. Just trying to cover my. But yeah, we're. I think we're in good shape. I don't know. We'll see if a little bit more time for questions here, and then I'm going home. Oh, it's Friday. I don't even have to get up early. I should go crawling tomorrow instead.
I should go to the fireworks stand and check on the lights.
I should get a car ready and go crawling tomorrow. That would be a good idea. Go exploring. Any idea when the transmission kit will be available separately? I don't have a date for you yet. It's not going to be for, you know, a couple or a few months after the release of the kit itself. And there, you know, there's some reasoning behind that, but I don't have a date for you to give yet. Guns, coffee, and crawling for me tomorrow. That's it. I don't have any plans to go to the gun range, but it's not out of the question. So, yeah, I think I'm going to. Dan is bench flexing the truck, and I'm very annoyed now.
It looks damn good though.
For anybody who watched this long, we'll flex Friday. It is Friday, and we're gonna flex. We're in something.
Put it back up on that. It worked perfect. This will probably be the one and only time.
It's not tall enough.
Use this. It works perfect.
Is that tall enough?
Yes. That's what I just had it on. This will be the one and only time you ever get to see Josh do this.
There you go. Bench flex Friday.
Yes. He does love Flex Friday. Secretly.
This is the screen.
Everybody's going to copy this and post it all over the internet.
How do we get stickers for the? If you order from us direct, the stickers come with the orders. But yeah, it's when you order from like distributors and stuff that they don't come in the packaging. So we send them out with orders, just as like a perk or whatever. It just depends on where you're ordering from. But we send out a lot of stickers. So I'll put it on your Facebook. Yeah, that's going to happen. Josh, there went your credibility.
Flip it over to the side next to you, because then you get Tuck It Tuesday too. You can get them all in one shot. We can
wheel front end. It's front end Friday. See, you can't. See? That's the thing. It's the dumb thing about these whole.
See. But yeah.
Stupid. I'll be in St. George the week of Nurse's show in Vegas. Might have to drive down for the day. Oh, you should, John. It's actually it'd be a fun show to come see. Trying to think. Sometimes they.
Can you get in though?
I know. I'm trying to think of getting in. I almost wonder if I could. Might have to message me. I might be able to like walk in or sneak in or something.
Get you a pass for.
Yeah. I'll grab Steve's pass and you can wear it in for a minute. Get a hold of me. You know how to get a hold of me, John. Will Vanquish ever make a kit that poor people can't afford? And that's the goal, right? One day, get down there with the big guys and all. It's just expensive. One day, maybe. We hope. We'd like to. It's just one day, and everybody will be happy, right?
No.
Nobody will ever. We'll never make everybody happy. I promise you. So
that will not happen.
But one day, maybe. But it's the thing, we're gonna like this. I think is gonna be like the best kit. And then from here, it'll be trying to make it less expensive or things like that to try and do something. But this kid is really awesome. Steve's calling. Sorry, Steve. Declined. He just heard that I was going to take his badge. He said call. So that's all you get.
He doesn't watch YouTube.
No, obviously. So we're going to call it, guys. 3 hours and 42 minutes so far. The
scary part is, if you would have built it by yourself, you would have been done by now pretty much.
I don't know. No, if I would have built it without filming?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Without the body being painted, you would have had everything else ready to go.
Yes. I mean, this paint job probably took him 4 hours at least.
You probably got that much scratch and grab off.
I know. I can't imagine how many hours it took him to paint this body. It is really amazing to see in person. Did I send the Boston voicemail? Yes.
It's not the first time. Hold on, Steve.
So, yes. All right, guys. I'm going to hem and haw and just keep answering questions forever if I don't just say we're done. So, we're done. That's it. I'm going to go crawling tomorrow now because I'm tired of doing this.
After work. Yeah.
That's it. Thanks for watching, guys. It was awesome. A bunch of you guys in here. So, thanks again. Hit the like button if you're still in here and haven't already. Subscribe if you're not already. Hit the notification bell so you see the videos as soon as my whole spiel at the end. Hit the like button if you haven't already. Subscribe if you're not. Hit the notification bell so you see the videos as soon as they get uploaded. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you on the next. See how well I've got that down?
See you guys.
See you guys later.
All right, I'll go through all this shit.